Poor people avoid debt. They're told their entire lives, debt is dangerous, debt will ruin your life, stay away from loans. But the rich, they love debt. In fact, some of the wealthiest people in the world became rich because of debt. They use it like a financial weapon. So the real question is, why do the rich use debt while everyone else is afraid of it? And the answer might completely change the way you think about money. Good debt versus bad debt. First, you need to understand something very important. Not all debt is the same. There are two types of debt. Bad debt. Bad debt takes money out of your pocket. Examples include credit card debt, expensive cars you can't afford, buying luxury items with loans, consumer electronics on payment plans. These things lose value and don't generate income. So every month, you're paying money for something that isn't making you richer. This is the kind of debt that traps millions of people. And this is why most financial advice says avoid debt. But here's what the rich understand. There's another type of debt. Good debt. Good debt puts money into your pocket. This is debt used to buy income-producing assets. Examples include real estate that produces rent, a business that generates profit, investments that grow over time. Instead of paying the debt yourself, the asset pays the debt for you. And this is where things get interesting, because when used correctly, debt becomes a wealth-building machine. Real estate leverage. One of the biggest ways rich people use debt is real estate leverage. Here's how it works. Imagine you want to buy a house worth $500,000. Most people think you must save the full amount, but investors don't do that. Instead, they put down 20%. That's $100,000. The bank loans them the other $400,000. Now here's the powerful part. If the property value rises 10%, the house becomes worth $550,000. That's a $50,000 increase. But remember, the investor only put in $100,000, so that $50,000 gain is actually a 50% return on their money. And that's the power of leverage. Debt allows investors to control large assets with smaller amounts of money. But there's another layer. If the property is rented out, the tenants pay the mortgage, which means someone else is slowly paying off your debt while the asset becomes yours. That's how many real estate millionaires are created. Business loans. Debt is also one of the biggest tools for building businesses. Think about this. Many successful companies didn't start with piles of cash. They started with borrowed money. Entrepreneurs take loans to buy equipment, hire employees, launch products, expand operations. Why? Because if a business generates more profit than the loan costs, the debt becomes profitable. Imagine borrowing $50,000 to start a business. If that business eventually makes $300,000, the loan becomes one of the best decisions you ever made. Many billion-dollar companies today were built using massive amounts of borrowed capital. Debt allowed them to grow faster than their own money would allow. Tax advantages. Another reason the rich love debt is tax advantages. In many countries, interest on certain types of loans can be tax deductible. For example, mortgage interest, business loan interest, investment borrowing. This means the government actually reduces your taxes for using debt in productive ways. But there's another powerful strategy wealthy people use. Instead of selling their investments and paying taxes, they borrow against them. For example, a wealthy investor may own $10 million in stocks. If they sell those stocks, they must pay capital gains tax. But instead, they take a loan using the stocks as collateral. Now they get cash without selling the asset. No taxes triggered. The investment continues growing, and the rich stay rich. So, if debt can be so powerful, why don't more people use it? Because debt is dangerous when used incorrectly. Most people borrow money for lifestyle, status, consumption. The rich borrow money for assets, investments, cash flow. One makes you poorer, the other makes you wealthier. Debt is like fire. Used correctly, it powers industries. Used carelessly, it burns everything down. So the next time someone says debt is always bad, remember this: debt isn't the problem. How you use debt is the real difference between the poor, the middle class, and the rich. The poor use debt to buy things. The rich use debt to buy assets. And that single shift in thinking can change your entire financial future.